The Master of Dreams gets headlined. Here's your look at the Horror Headliners XL Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger. Horror Headliners XL captures the true essence and personality of Freddy Krueger and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Take your favorite horror characters home in this 1999 Horror Headliners XL, which are bigger than ever. Okay, alright, let's get this review underway. Now, I've kept Freddy Krueger's fedora on his head for the time being, because that's likely how you're going to be displaying the figure. Just between you and me. Don't tell anybody, but just between you and me. The fedora is removable. According to the Ultra Measure 5000, though, Horror Headliners Freddy Krueger stands 6.4 inches in height, which in centimeters works out to be 16.4. That seems familiar. 16.4 centimeters tall. And because I'm sure you guys will be asking for some size comparisons, I shouldn't have put Freddy so far back. Oh, there we go. Let's bring in the previously looked at Jason Voorhees. Now, they seem roughly the same height. I guess you could argue the fact that Freddy Krueger is, yes, in fact, taller, because he does have his fedora. If we did take off the fedora, though, leaving something that I was going to do earlier, you can see that they seem to be about the same height. Freddy Krueger is probably still a little bit taller than the Jason Voorhees that we already had a look at on the left. FYI, though, if you are interested in checking out the full review of Jason Voorhees, it's pretty much like the last video. I mean, you can watch this video first, and then kind of pull out, apparently making the sound of a cat, and beeline yourself over to the previously looked at Jason Voorhees video. It's entirely up to you. Yeah, we already kind of gave it away. I revealed for the fact that you can take off the fedora. The fedora seems to be made up of a softer plastic. I guess it would make logical sense that you wouldn't want to make this out of a dense material, or whatever material these are made out of. I wonder if they're actually made out of like a pewter or like something dense, because they don't feel like plastic. We'll talk about that in a second. But the fedora is, I guess, Freddy's one accessory. The glove and stuff like that is not something that you can remove. And then the fedora, if we go ahead and grab the figure right now, the fedora does sit on his head, but it feels like it sits really loose. And it doesn't seem like it's the right size either. It actually, I feel like it should be just a little bit bigger, but I'm not going to nitpick for the fact, yes, after all, when it's all said and done, this is a super deformed version of Freddy Krueger. One thing you also have to be careful of, too, is when you are putting the fedora on his head, the nails, the claws, are awfully close. You don't want to accidentally clip or bend. You don't certainly want to be pushing the hat down, and in the process of doing that, accidentally break the blades. That would make you very sad, I'm sure. One workaround to that is you can also put the fedora around the other way, which I guess works just as well, although it does from the back look like, yes, you have put it on the wrong way. We're going to go ahead and take this off. We're just going to put it to the side. We'll have a look at Freddy Krueger, who, much like Jason Voorhees, comes permanently affixed. I just want to stress this. It's permanently affixed to its display stand. And you've got Freddy Krueger written on the front. So it kind of looks like something you would almost have seen from the Flintstones. Freddy Krueger kind of etched away there in stone. Now, on the top there of his base, it's not quite the splattering that Jason would get. Instead, it actually looks like there's a pattern. Freddy took the time meticulously, decided he wanted to make a little artwork there with his display base. I don't know what's going on here, whether that's a claw mark, whether he actually tried to use his, like a handprint. I don't really know. But it looks like here he's almost doing a tally. I don't know what's going on here, but it is a bit on the crude side, kind of to be said for the same for these pieces. They're a little on the crude side, but kind of with that, admittingly, in thinking of the positives, I gotta admit there's something appealing to the fact of this particular line. By the way, in case somebody was also wondering, no, you can't take the fedora and put it inside his hand. I mean, you could, but then it looks like he's just carrying a really, really big hat, which I guess in the end of it, that's actually what he's doing. You just take the hat, put it to the side. The head sculpt actually is decent for what it is. I might say a little too painted. The orange color that they've just basted like a turkey all over this guy's face kind of takes it looking less like he is, looking less like he's burned. It actually looks a little bit more like, looks like he's covered in like SpaghettiO sauce, which I guess would be something you would probably have eaten back in 1999, because back in the day you didn't even know what was bad for you and what was good for you. Kind of looks like SpaghettiOs, kind of looks like a pizza, which I guess isn't that far off based on the design that they were going with for Freddy's initial head sculpt, based on a pepperoni pizza after all. I guess it's okay. Some of the burns and stuff probably would have worked, I think, a little bit better if there was a difference in contrast between two colors, not just simply sculpting it all in the lighter color and then just basting it quite generously, I might add, in this darker kind of orange color. It kind of looks a little bit like a pumpkin, just a bit like a pumpkin. Now, we know that this is Freddy Krueger, obviously not post A Nightmare on Elm Street. We know it's at least from the sequels onward, as he does have the stripes on the sleeves, the telltale sign. Other than that, though, I have to admit that the sweater is not... I'm not really sure what's happened here. It's almost as if somebody was in charge of doing the stripes and did actually a pretty good job. And then the guy before that, who was initially painting the sweater in that red color, said, oh, I guess I didn't do this one, and proceeded to brush it while the stripes were still wet, in resulting of what it looks to be like he actually has just blended all the brush strokes, all the stripes together. That's at least what it looks like. It looks like it was brushed on and then somebody just kind of went like this while it was still wet. I don't really get why it looks like that specifically. I guess it's to give it the texture and look of a sweater. It ultimately just makes it look like it's a bit messy, really. The glove, for what it is, isn't terrible. A black glove with the kind of bronze or copper plates. I'm trying to pinpoint again. I mean, we could dissect this to death trying to figure out what Freddy this would be from. Black glove probably wouldn't be a big help whatsoever. At least to the credit, you can see that they have painted visible open palms and open fingers, that they just didn't simply paint it all black. So some credit points should be made right there. Further down, I'm not sure what's happened here. Blood spots and just whatever's resulted from whoever I guess he's just recently killed has also made a pattern on his pants. Like it's intentional. I don't know. I don't know why it looks specifically like that. Maybe less probably could have gone a long way. Less is obviously not the route that they went, and it kind of looks like Freddy's wearing sneakers. But I know, again, all of that can be just chalked up to the time and the place in which these would have been made. Place is not so much the relevant end of it, but certainly the time. You're looking at this something being 20 years old, and with 20 years old of time, you can imagine that a collectible back in the day would have not looked just as good as some of the stuff that we're getting right now. To its credit, Freddy doesn't look terrible, in all honesty. If you kind of separate yourself that, okay, this is the time frame in which this figure is based from, 1999. What was going on really a lot in 1999 in the way of collectibles? Well, we were getting some of the, I think the movie Maniacs started to surface around that time frame, and even like their sculpts back in the day weren't the greatest. So you sort of have to give these a pass. Not to the pass that they would look just as good as some of the stuff that's coming out right now, but you have to also embrace the fact that these are 20 years old. And with 20 years old of a collectible, there's sort of a charm that goes along with that. The fact that these are so old. In fact, you guys probably already know from enough of the videos that you've watched. Thank you for doing that, by the way. You'll know also that some of the oldest figures are still some of my all-time favorites. The Violators, for example, from the old McFarlane Classic line. Some of the original Movie Maniacs. The Jason Voorhees, for example, from Movie Maniacs Series 1. It's one of my all-time favorite figures. Is the figure rough-looking? Yes. Does the sculpt look like Jason? Barely. But that, again, is some of the appeal that goes along with these older collectibles. You sort of now find these in places like flea markets or liquidation places, maybe even like garage sales. Sometimes you might even stumble across these. That's kind of the appeal that goes along with these. They're not something that are so easily accessible, not something so easily able to be found nowadays. So if it's something that you maybe even just stumble across, you might even think to yourself, hey, look at that. That's a Freddy Krueger from Horror Headliners XL. Never heard of it. And pick it up for yourself. The benefit of these is that the price point on these haven't skyrocketed. The certificate of authenticity, which I just didn't happen to show you in this review, but I did show you in the Jason Voorhees review, these are limited to around a 10,000 copy release. That means that the value of these haven't skyrocketed. In fact, actually, I think if you wanted to get a couple of these, hook yourself up with a couple of these on eBay, you probably could find these at about a $20 to $30 price point, which I guess at that time, these guys probably would have only been about a $10 to $15, so they have doubled or so in price. Some of the more harder to find ones, like Ghostface, and I think Michael Myers as well, are the little bit more scarcer and a little more expensive to come by, simply because those were exclusives. By the way, also, get a gander at the side of the box. You'll see a number 04552. That actually is the number of this particular Freddy out of the 10,000 copies released. So the one good thing is, not only do you have a certificate of authenticity, which I might also add is not something that you even have to remove from the packaging. It's quite visible in the open part of the back of the packaging that you can see it at all times. You don't have to actually rip it out of the packaging, destroying the cardboard in the process, just so that you have that in your hand. It's right there all the time. And also the subsequent number of 4552, of course yours will be different than mine, is visible there on the side of the box. So it gives you everything that you need if you either want to keep this guy sealed, permanently encased in his plastic prison, or like I've done in this review, open him up and likely be putting him on display. If you've managed to pick up any of the Horror Headliners XLs, let me know down below in the comments section which ones you picked up, or based on these reviews, what you guys think of the Horror Headliners. Keeping in mind, these are, again, 20 years old. What was around in 20 years ago? Probably not a whole lot, especially for horror collectibles. We're going to have a look at one more of these. One more. I'll leave it to you to guess which one that might be. Make sure as well you have hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notifications so that when that next video goes up and all the subsequent numbers afterwards of videos, you'll also be fully aware of the new videos that are coming up onto this channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.